5 middle-class friends from the Washington, D.C. suburbs. One is a dental student at a local university. All are praised as good kids by leaders of their Northern Virginia mosque.
I have always known these kids as fun-loving, career-focused children that had a bright future for themselves.
A good chunk of that future may be spent behind bars. The 5 traveled to Pakistan in November to link up with Islamic terrorist groups and wage jihad against U.S. troops. Their capture by Pakistani authorities capped a full year of terrorist plots, attacks, and arrests involving U.S. citizens. Terrorism experts say the rise of homegrown jihad has left the U.S. more vulnerable to attack than at any time since 9/11.
I see these individuals, these homegrown individuals, as sort of the crown jewel for international terrorist organizations like Al-Qaeda.
2009 saw no shortage of American recruits for Al-Qaeda and its allies. Fort Hood psychiatrist Nidal Hassan contacted an Al-Qaeda recruiter in Yemen before carrying out his terrorist rampage. Afghan native Najibullah Zazi stands accused of planning major attacks in New York City after attending an Al-Qaeda training camp. 14 Somali Americans are under indictment for providing support to an Al-Qaeda-linked group in Somalia, and 2 Pakistani Americans in Chicago were charged with seeking to attack targets in Denmark and India. One of those men, David Coleman Headley, traveled to India to scout out targets for the Islamic terrorist group Lashkar-e-Taiba. The group later struck those targets in the November 2008 Mumbai massacre, in which 166 people were killed.
Somebody who has the ability as a legal U.S. resident to travel fairly freely throughout the world with a passport makes them a very, very useful tool.
Headley and his partner in the plot, Tawahar Hussein Rana, attended school together in Pakistan. The two reconnected after moving to this heavily Pakistani neighborhood in North Chicago.
FBI agents recovered 2 Al-Qaeda videos during a raid here at Tawahar Hussein Rana's North Chicago home. The videos featured speeches by Osama bin Laden and vicious rhetoric against the United States, Denmark, and Jews.
The Chicago case has raised fears that American Islamists could have designs outside the U.S.
And we know that they're already attempting to wage jihad inside the United States in places like Springfield, Illinois, where a white convert to Islam was recently arrested and charged with plotting to blow up this federal building.
29-year-old Michael Fenton converted to Islam in prison. He idolized American Taliban John Walker Lind. A federal affidavit says Fenton traveled to Saudi Arabia in 2008 and received $1,400 from an unidentified man in that country.
These networks are able to recruit on the internet, and there are so many jihadist websites out there that particularly play to young, impressionable individuals.
A co-worker of Fenton's at this fast food restaurant said the lanky redhead, quote, didn't like America very much. He and other American Muslims turned that rage against their country in 2009. New York City, 4 Muslims charged with plotting to bomb synagogues and U.S. military planes. North Carolina, 7 Muslims arrested for planning attacks against overseas targets and U.S. military facilities in Virginia. Dallas, a 19-year-old Jordanian plotted to blow up a downtown skyscraper. And in Boston, a Muslim charged with planning to kill U.S. soldiers and civilians. Fort Hood wasn't the only successful Islamic terrorist attack on American soil in 2009. In a shooting almost ignored by the mainstream media, a radical Muslim killed a U.S. military recruiter in Arkansas last spring. Former FBI Special Agent Dennis Lormel says the low-tech paramilitary tactics used in those 2 attacks and in Mumbai could be the future of homegrown jihad.
You had a group of individuals who were able to commit such devastation, and even though the death count was certainly nowhere near 9/11, it had a devastating impact in India. The snipers here in D.C., every time there was a shooting, regardless of was it in Maryland, Virginia, or D.C., it really crippled the entire area.
One former Muslim told CBN News that unless America faces the fact that Islamic ideology drives the jihadists, homegrown plots will continue in 2010.
I heard it a million times, that we are here to spread Islam and eventually to replace the American Constitution with Islamic Sharia.
Now, you heard that at a mosque back in Syria, where you're from.
No, here in the United States. Yes.
Eric Stackelbeck, CBN News, Chicago, Illinois.